Hello. Thank you for watching. The way I picked which video to do today is I looked at my ideas book and found the oldest one that I haven't done yet. Reality skewed by entertainment. This one's not going to be about religion like most of my videos are, but I'm going to, every now and then, I'll step off the reservation, so to speak. A lot of television shows and movies give you inaccurate information about guns. So here are some thoughts about what the real information is about guns. Well, one, not all crimes are solvable. This is more about just life in general, not specific about guns, but you might, if you don't realize this, you might feel disappointed when you find out there's a real crime somewhere that hasn't been solved yet, because on Law and Order, they always find the killer, they always find who did it. They always know who did it, even if they don't convince the jury and they get them off on a technicality. But in reality, there are unsolved crimes. Alright. Bullets don't have fingerprints. Humans, of course, we have fingerprints. If I do a lot of yard work one day and wear it out, it'll come back the same. If I cut it, it'll come back the same. Unless I really severely mangle it. But the gun, while it does leave marks on the bullet and the shell or the brass that held the bullet before it was fired, those marks don't stay constant and don't grow back. The parts of the gun don't grow back the same way my finger will grow back if I rub the fingerprint off. And the greatest proof of this is Maryland stopped their ballistic fingerprinting. Maryland was requiring every handgun sold in the state to be fired and the brass sent to a police warehouse, so investigators, when there was a gun crime, would be able to look at the brass in that warehouse, look at the brass from the crime, and know which gun did it. But in reality, the guns don't leave a constant mark. Just using the gun, after many thousands of rounds, the metal will be worn away enough that there'll be a little bit different pattern on that gun many thousands of rounds later. In Maryland, the reason they stopped doing that ballistic fingerprinting of handguns was because 0 crimes were solved by it. Not because the political situation in Maryland had changed. Maryland did not become a red state or a Republican stronghold or a state where the National Rifle Association was getting every dream they ever had enacted. In fact, to the contrary, Maryland is one of the states in America that bans some guns because they look extra scary or something like that. Those bans that are mislabeled assault weapon bans, but truly an assault weapon has to be fully automatic. And those bans don't touch fully automatic guns. Warning shots are fired in movies. But in reality, warning shots are a bad idea. In a movie, somebody fires and the bullet, you don't see where it goes. It just vanishes into thin air. But in reality, a warning shot, that bullet goes somewhere. So if somebody fires a warning shot in the city, they might hit somebody. In fact, people have been criminally charged because it is such a bad and dangerous idea to fire warning shots in the city. And the fact that a vice president has encouraged that does not change that fact. That means that vice president proved himself to be an idiot, or at least not knowledgeable about that topic. And in the idiot's defense, he doesn't have to think about it seriously. He became vice president. He's got the Secret Service keeping people from hurting him. He doesn't need to think about it because anyone shoots at him, all he's got to do is let the Secret Service shoot back. He doesn't need to really think about what he would really do if somebody attacks him. And a lot of movies, maybe it happened more in the old westerns, but somebody shoots the gun out of somebody else's hand. I'm not saying nobody in reality has ever shot somebody's hand, but that's an extremely small target. And so it's extremely unlikely for that to happen, even with somebody who's trained in using a gun, to hit the target that big that's moving. Alright, one shot, one kill. I'm not saying one shot, one kill never happens, but it probably happens more in the movies than in reality. Because in reality there are a lot of people that have been shot multiple times that survived. And a lot of people that died were shot more than once. Yeah, and so here's some ideas on why those three things matter. If you are on a jury and the only evidence that somebody used excessive force is they didn't fire a warning shot, don't convict if that's the only evidence, because that warning shot is putting innocent lives at risk. Juries should not be forcing people to fire warning shots, because somebody will, an innocent person one of these days will literally be killed by a warning shot if we end up with juries rewarding people for, if we end up with juries treating a lack of a warning shot as proof of excessive force. If you're on a jury and the only proof of excessive force against somebody is that they didn't try to shoot the gun out of the bad guy's hand, don't convict. That's not excessive force. That's just reality that you can't demand, even a trained person, to hit a moving target that's this big with a handgun. And if you're on jury and the only evidence of excessive force is more than one shot was fired, don't convict. I'm saying if that's the only evidence, not if there's that and something else, but if the only evidence is more than one shot was fired, don't convict. It takes more than one shot to get a person down sometimes. If they didn't drop the gun, then the person shooting is completely justified, still shooting. And let's see, plastic guns. Back in the 80s when the Glock was coming out, there was a movie where somebody said there's this gun that is plastic so it can get through airport metal detectors. And I think he was talking about Glocks. But in reality, while there is some plastic in Glocks, and now more plastic in more guns, Glock's competitors, back then Glock didn't have a competitor with plastic parts. Now there are more competitors with plastic parts in their guns. But the guns have not become completely plastic. So they will still set off metal detectors. In fact, there's a law that they have to set off metal detectors. Oh yeah, and the one shot, one kill fact. One other reason that's important to bear in mind. If you are acting in self-defense, know your gun's capabilities. You might need to shoot more than once. Even if it's a powerful gun, you still might need to shoot more than once. If you hit somebody in the gut, they're going to be in a lot of pain, but it's not going to cause an instant death, and they might still have some fight in them. And if they have a gun, and that's why you're shooting them in self-defense, the reason you could explain you were in fear for your life is somebody has a gun they're pointing at you, they can still pull the trigger on that gun even with some damage to their body if they aren't completely dead yet. So, just remember, don't get your facts about guns from entertainment. They might not give you all the facts in the shows. They're there for entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.